Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's gathering for Unlocking Nature. And now we are heading into tonight's discussion, Swimming and Living with Sharks, Can We Share the Waves? And this is a panel of innovative scientists who will discuss with us this evening initiatives that they lead to establish human and shark coexistence along our shores. This panel will include marine biologist Dr. Sara Andreotti, SharkSafe Barrier, Hannah Snyman with White Shark Projects, and Melissa Nel, Shark Spotters. Join us as we explore the latest technologies and programs shaping the future of shark conservation. Get ready to be inspired by Melissa Nel. Melissa Nel is a passionate marine biologist and dedicated shark spotter whose journey began with a single life-changing sighting of a great white shark off the Robberg Peninsula, Plettenberg Bay in South Africa. That single, powerful experience shifted her focus and set her firmly on the path of protecting these misunderstood apex predators. Today, Melissa is deeply committed to marine conservation, driven by a desire to better understand sharks and inspire others to value and protect our oceans. Melissa, I'm looking forward to hearing more from you this evening. You're welcome to take the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thanks so much for having me. Again, I'm Melissa Nel. I'm the manager of Plettenberg Bay Shark Spotters. And yeah, this is our little story. Just for starters, you guys can see this beautiful picture of Plettenberg Bay. This is a very famous hotel right on the beach called Beacon Isle. I'll be referring it throughout the talk. And in the background, you can see Robberg Nature Reserve and Marine Protected Area. And if you look in the water just below, you'll see a great white shark swimming in the shallows there at one of the most popular beaches in Plet, just for reference. So just to give a little bit of a backstory here, some trends of white sharks. The past couple of years in South Africa, there was a paper by Alison Towner et al. Called Fear at the Top. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it, but this is just one of the figures from her paper. And basically all I want to pull from this is that it's been clear over the past couple of years that on the West Coast, sightings of white sharks have heavily declined in False Bay and Gans Bay, which have been typical hotspots for white sharks in the past. And along our southern coast and east coast, there's been an upward trend in sightings the past couple of years. And as a lot of you know, there's been 2 naughty orcas, port and starboard, that love feeding on great white shark livers, or any shark livers for that matter. So they have been a big cause in this, well, what we think might have caused or been one of the reasons why the white sharks are shifting more eastward. And along with that, I'm sure you'll hear from Sarah after this, but it's also believed that there's a steady decline of white sharks across the country. So when we talk about shark incidents, I love to just put this little infographic in front of us, because in comparison to all the animals across the world, you can see that sharks really don't play a large role in annual deaths. So yeah, just under 1,780,000 people on average are killed by mosquitoes a year. And now imagine we had to get a news headline every time someone was killed by a mosquito. It would be absolutely flooded. And just going down, snakes, crocodiles, hippos, you name it, and sharks averaging at around 5 a year. And if we're looking specifically at South Africa, the shark incident file history between 1990 and 2022, so that's 32 years, there's been a total of 210 recorded incidents with sharks and humans. But incidents is anything from a fisherman catching a ragged-toothed shark and maybe being snagged on his hand or his arm, or I don't know if you guys watch surfing, but the Mick Fanning event, the WSL Comp a couple of years ago, he was bumped by a shark. All of these recordings go into a big file, and that's where we get this big number, 210. Only 35 of those have been fatal within the 32 years. So in Plettenberg Bay, we've had a long-standing relationships with sharks and humans. It's nothing new at all. And most of these are completely harmless. Like this video over here, a couple of years ago, a white shark in between the surfers. And if you're a surfer in Plettenberg Bay, this is no strange sight at all. Nearly everyone has had an encounter like this. The sharks are generally very curious. They cruise the shallows looking for food in the winter months. And yeah, this isn't an unusual sight for us. And here is another example. This is Robberg, like I explained in the beginning. It's one of the very few places across the world where you can actually view great white sharks from land and observe their natural behavior. This is one of my friends. We went down for a nice little walk along Robberg, and you can literally just watch white sharks cruising up and down the mountain a few meters away from you. Yeah, it's been quite a cool tourist attraction over the past couple of years, and it's really beautiful to watch. But then we have 2022. So there's only been 3 fatal shark incidents in Plet over the 32 years of records. And unfortunately, 2 of them happened within 3 months of each other in 2022. And this hit headlines across the world. Everyone was quite shocked by this news, and it really damaged Plettenberg Bay's tourism. People were cancelling their Airbnb bookings. The public perception, the community perception of sharks completely changed. The beaches were practically bare for a while. No one was swimming or surfing. Yeah, it really affected the town quite a bit. But this is how Shark Spotters was born. So Shark Spotters has been a non-profit organization that has been running for 20 years already in Cape Town, False Bay, Muizenberg side. And after these instances, it was obvious people were calling for like help. What are we going to do? How are we going to bring tourism back? We need people to feel safe on our beaches. And Plet is quite a conservation-minded place. And there was absolutely no chance we would get shark nets or anything that could possibly harm the sharks or our nature. So yeah, this is when Shark Spotters was an option to come to Plet. So within 2 months, we trained 16 staff from local communities, and then we were up and running by November 2022. We now operate across 5 beaches in Plettenberg Bay, as you can see on the map on the right. And we have quite a simple protocol. Basically, we operate 365 days a year unless there's bad weather, and we are very lucky that we have these high vantage points all across Plet. So that Beacon Isle Hotel, we have 2 spotters sitting on the roof, and they're observing all day from sunrise to sunset. And we have shark alarms in place thanks to NSRI. We have radios that we communicate with to the lifeguards and beach control. So basically what happens is we're monitoring the water. If we see a shark in the area, we radio it into the lifeguards. We assess what shark it is, what behavior it is doing. Is it going to come into the bathing area? And if it is going to, or we think it is going to, then all the lifeguards are radioed to get everyone out the water, and then the beach is closed for a certain amount of time. If it's a white shark circling the area, the beach will be closed for at least 1 hour. If it's a non-threat or less threatening shark, then beach closure might be a bit less. So we have now got a Shark Spotters app up and running, which is so awesome, because then we can pull really cool data like this from it. We record all sightings that we see: sharks, dolphins, whales, fish, stingrays, otters, now seals too. And the heat map on the right, you can see last year, September, we had quite a busy month in terms of shark sightings, specifically around that Beacon Isle area. And this led to a lot of beach closures. So you can see the beach closures in purple. This is across a 2-month period, September and October 2024. And the one beach specifically, Central Beach, right in front of the hotel there. The beach was closed just under 60 times. There were days where we had to close the beach for the entire day because the white sharks were just circling that area. There's a really awesome reef just behind the hotel packed with small shark species and stingrays, which I think the white sharks definitely love. So besides from bather safety being our number one priority, SharkSpotter also does its best for outreach and education, conservation and research. It's actually a really cute story about this little girl on the left with the white shark jaw. She was petrified when she first came to the beach. She was running a mile away from this massive jaw. But by the end of the day, she wanted to take photos with it, and it was really sweet to just see how we can change a young person's mind by talking to them about sharks and telling them that they're really not that bad. So to get into some of the research that we're doing, there's been very, very little research done in Plettenberg Bay about sharks, really at all. So we have two ongoing research projects at the moment. The first one is Rauberg observations. So this is dedicated once or twice a week. We hike out on the mountain and we sit at clifftop sites and we just observe. So from here we can see big shark species such as white sharks, bronze whalers, hammerhead, short-tailed stingrays, and we noting down their presence, numbers, size, behavior, all of that kind of stuff. And then the second one, so Rauberg observations we've been doing for nearly 5-6 years now, and then the BRAV project is a new project. So for those of you that don't know, a BRAV is a baited remote underwater video system. There's a little diagram of it in the corner. Basically, it's a steel structure with a camera inside and bait on the other end. You go out on a boat, you drop it in the water, you leave it for an hour or so, and then you pick it up and you watch the footage. We've been doing this for nearly a year and a half now. And yeah, you can get a lot of different species diversity, see smaller sharks, also see the large sharks. You can get relative abundance from this, and so forth. So here is just some examples of what we see from our research project. So the first one I'll play here from Rauberg. Oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself there. Okay, so this is a white shark cruising along the edge of the mountain, and this is actually a really cool behavior that we see from Rauberg called mobbing. So this is when a group of seals all gather together, and then they actually chase the shark away from the colony. So it is quite unique to see. And then the second video here of the Bravs, it did land on its side, but we still managed to get some really cool footage this day. This is a smooth hammerhead that's cruising along the sandy patch, which was really cool. And then along with the Bravs project, we've also partnered with Rockhopper, with Justin Blake, which we'll hear from later. He's donated some 360 cameras to us, so we attach this to the top of the Brav, and then we're able to get really high quality footage, and we're hoping to identify the individual sharks that come here, can maybe see if we're getting sharks coming year to year, or if we're getting different sharks, juveniles, adults, and that kind of thing. So this is a clip from last winter shark season. Okay, and then on top of that, I'm currently doing my master's evaluating elasmobranch community dynamics within Plettenberg Bay using a multi-method approach. So I'm basically using 6 different methods to try and get as much information as I can on the shark and stingray, on the shark and stingray populations across the bay. So I'm using acoustics. We have 4 different acoustic receivers in the bay, so any tagged shark and stingray that enters this area will be picked up over there. Then we do the Bravs, which I've just explained. We do opportunistic boat-based surveys. We use citizen science data, RE fish tagging, and Elmo is where you can report shark egg cases and opportunistic sightings of sharks and stingrays. And then the 2 observational projects, Rauberg and SharkSpotters data. So from this, we've managed to find 24 different species in Plettenberg Bay already, and we're still getting new ones all the time, which is really, really awesome. So it really shows us that this is a high biodiverse spot for sharks and stingrays. And the sad part is that 50% of the species that we found here are considered vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. And yeah, just to end off and answer the question of the day, can we share the waves with the sharks and humans together? And yes, I think Plettenberg Bay is a perfect testament and proof that we can live in harmony together. Shark Spotters has been operating Plet for 2.5 years now, and we've had no incidences. Everyone is happy sharing the ocean together. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. That was absolutely super, and I loved all the footage. One of our audience, Arbaz Khan, said, "This is amazing," and I think that that's absolutely sums up how we probably all feel. Really fantastic. Good luck with your masters. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
I know that we're going to ask questions right at the end, but there is one that came in which I absolutely love, which says, "Can you train seals to chase sharks away from beaches?" And that's by Glenn Parsons. Do you want to just answer that one?
Sure. No, I don't think we can train seals. I don't think we want to do that either. But we are observing the seals at the moment just because we have rabies in the seal population now, so they're actually posing just as much of a threat as a shark in a bathing area. So no, unfortunately we can't train them, and I think we should allow the sharks to swim where they want.
Thanks, Melissa. We'll go more into that. So I'm going to now introduce Dr. Sara Andreotti. It is an honor to welcome you, a pioneering marine biologist whose groundbreaking work has transformed our understanding of great white sharks and how we coexist with them. It was at the age of 8 years old that Sara decided that she wanted to work at sea with animals. She studied marine biology and moved to South Africa in 2009 to specialize on white shark population estimates and genetics. From leading the first national genetic assessment of South Africa's white shark population to co-inventing the eco-friendly SharkSafe Barrier, Sara exemplifies how science, innovation, and passion can drive meaningful change in ocean conservation. Sara, I'm fascinated. Please tell me more.
Fantastic. So, well, thank you for being here tonight. What I would like to do is share a little bit of what I learned in the last 15 years I've been in South Africa working with sharks. And I would like to kick off with this slide, which is what's the difference? We look at predators on land, we look at lions and leopards and wolves with fascination. We understand how important these top predators are for the ecosystem. And yet when we look at sharks, they still generate a lot of fear. And I believe that the main difference between these is that we learn in time to understand and appreciate the role that top predators have on land, but we don't know that much about sharks. So I made it my life mission to learn more about these animals. And one of the things that comes to mind is that not all sharks are the same. There are more than 500 different species of these animals on our planet. And in South Africa alone, we have about 200 different species of sharks. And of all of these, only a handful have ever been involved in negative encounters with humans. So when people ask me, what shall I do if I am in the water with a shark? My straight answer is, well, it depends on the sharks. If you're in the water with a massive whale shark that eats plankton, you should just take a really good picture. Same goes for pyjama shark and puff-headed shark. The vast majority of our sharks are completely harmless to humans. So it is important that we start shifting this concept that all sharks can be dangerous, because that's not the case. And even the handful of sharks that could be responsible for a negative encounter never do it unprovoked. This is such a thing as an unprovoked attack. So what I believe we should do is learn more about their behavior. So for instance, when we go into the Kruger National Park, we are in the presence of large land predators. We dress up for the occasion. We try to be camouflage. We try not to attract attention. And yet, when we get in the ocean, we kind of dress up with the brightest color we can find on the shelf. And that is because most of the dive gear and surfing gear have been designed for people to see other people in bad visibility, which makes perfect sense. However, if we know we are going to go in bad visibility water where large sharks are swimming, I believe we should not dress up like a fish lure. And that is a basic thing that all of the shark divers have been working with, Mike Ratzen, Walter Bernardis. They always say, don't put yellow fin on, don't put white fin on, because they've had this interaction with the large sharks. But we went a step forward. And I had a master student from Stellenbosch University, Cicely Nagel, that actually tested these using this different colored canister filled up with sardines. And we empirically tested if that is true. Are sharks actually attracted to more brighter colors than others? And of course, that was the first time that we put this shark toy in the water. We tested it with the oceanic black tip in Alival Shoal, and then with the bronze whalers in here in False Bay. And the results are fantastic. We could actually prove that the majority of the time, these animals target the color that has the brightest contrast with the background. And I thought that was fantastic because we can then inform people to not dress up with such color if they are in the water. And I also would like to highlight that that is true for these species here in South Africa where the visibility is bad. Maybe if you go to the Bahamas, I work with Cristina Zanato that works in the Bahamas, they have 60-meter visibility. And the shark don't care how you're dressed like because they don't have to react to different contrast in the water. So again, every species is different, every area is different, but it is our responsibility to know better and reduce this accident. So if you forget anything about what I'm going to share on shark behavior, and you will ever be in the water with a very large shark, just remember that they don't know what we are. We are not part of their food chain. So the best way to act is try not to look like their food. So avoid the bright colors. Don't act like food. So don't start swimming away. That is what their prey do. And then don't chase them either, because that could be perceived as an aggression. And maintain eye contact and see where the shark goes at all times. If everyone will know that, again, we could reduce the chances of a negative interaction, if you see each other, of course. So I want to just show you, this is Mike Ratzen with a white shark out of the cage, and show you how these animals read our body language as much as we are reading theirs. So they're not mindless. Here is getting too close, Mike puts a foot down, immediately is twice the size, and the shark turns away. Now Mike is swimming away, the shark follows, just like a dog, they want to stop you. If you stop yourself, the shark turn around. So just think what we learn about land predator, a dog. You wouldn't start running away from a dog that you don't know because it might chase you. And shark pretty much works the same way. So that is what I learned. Part of what we learn about shark behavior is that they're not mindless. If we learn how to behave better, then we have a better chance to have this positive interaction. There are a lot of people that die with shark daily and no accident happens. In fact, only 5 to 7 people a year globally in the whole world are killed by sharks. So really, really, a very tiny amount. So what did I do when I came to South Africa? Was counting the shark. We used photo identification and genetic to trying to figure how the population status was. So I'm aging, so that study is now 13 years old already. We completed the data collection between 2012 and 2014. And what we discovered by collecting more than 4,000 photo identification of white shark, we could count how many white sharks were visiting the area of Gansbad. They are not residential. They just move up and down the coast at all times. We discovered that the population is one around the coastline. We could identify every single individual with the little notches they have at the rear end of the dorsal fin. So we didn't double count the same individual, and we could provide a very accurate estimate by doing this work for 3 years in a row. And the estimate was in between 300 and 500 sharks visiting Gansbad 13 years ago. On an average day, I would see anything between 10 and 15. Then we went around the whole coastline and collected 303 samples from 263 sharks. And we ran a genetic study, and we discovered that their genetic diversity is very poor. We discovered that historically the species went through a bottleneck. And at the moment, the number of breeders in the population is too small. So they are aiming for extinction. They are not a healthy population. And that was 13 years ago. So everyone counts in between 300 and 500 is really not many sharks. And we know that it's the same population. We know it from the genetic, we know it from tagging data. And then we look into all of the threats that these animals are facing. And we have overfishing of their food resources, we have poaching, we have a lot of direct threat. And then on top of it, KwaZulu-Natal Shark Board, an institution that was established in 1950, and it is only scope is reduce the number of sharks in KwaZulu-Natal to reduce the chances of shark-human encounters. They do that using gill nets or baited hooks called drumline. On average, they've been killing 28 white sharks every year. With a population of 500, you can see how quickly the number can go down. 1,100 died between 1978 and 2019. So it's a staggering number. And of course, when I came to South Africa and we started working on this animal, we realized this is a non-consumptive fishery. The nets are there because people are afraid for the tourism. And with the shark, of course, they're killing a lot of manta and whales and all the megafauna that you can think of. 80% of the shark and the animals killed in these nets are actually vulnerable or critically endangered. So can't we just stop this? You know, is out of fear. Can't we just take these nets out of the water? And after 15 years of being in this job, one does not simply stop using shark nets, apparently. It's not that simple. I've been told that it is a fishery independent research data resource. But by now we can, you saw the previous talk, we can use browse, we can use genetic, we can use a lot of other systems. I've been told the job creation is an issue. I've been told that the tourism will collapse. I've been told a lot of stories. So apparently not that simple. And I understand it's not simple. It isn't, human safety is a component, even though, as I said, there aren't many fatal shark accidents globally. What the problem is the loss of tourism revenue. As it happened in Plett, people are afraid, they don't want to go there, they cancel booking. Reunion Island is a good example, is a French island that lost 20 million euro every year following a series of shark accidents. So the financial pain is what has been justifying the environmental damage that these nets are causing. So that's why in the last years, we started developing an alternative that is a barrier from the shark point of view, not the people point of view, to keep sharks separated from beachgoers without killing marine life. So that's called the SharkSafe Barrier. It combines a visual aspect of a thick forest of kelp that the shark don't like with magnet. The magnet creates a magnetic field that becomes overwhelming for the shark. The shark can feel magnetic and electric field in our water, in every water. So the magnets is a shark deterrent. Then we combine these two. We tested it with the bull shark, 48 bull shark in the Bahamas, 63 white shark in Gansbaai in South Africa, when we used to have them. And we replicate this thick forest of kelp and try to get and convince the shark to cross it using chum in the middle of this exclusion. So we ran this study for 6 years in between the shark studies and the publication and then the engineering study. And we never had a shark crossing our system. So we are very relaxed on that sense. We know that they really don't like to cross it. We spent the last 3 years, 7 years now, testing for robustness, make sure that our pipes can withstand harsh sea condition. And of course, we have the Cape of Storm behind our corner. So that's a very good testing site, because if our design is not strong, the ocean just gives us the pipes back. So 7 years of that, more years of testing. Now we have a product, we have a company, and we had our first installation where we are actually protecting a beach in the Bahamas for 20 months now. And it's been an exciting journey, because these clients had sharks coming into that bay constantly. And since we closed the entrance, the sharks stopped coming in. What is really cool about our system is that it doesn't entangle marine life. It becomes an artificial reef. It is shark specific. So every other animal can just swim through it. It took a few years to find a system to anchor it on deep sand, moving sand, rocks, you name it. That's why we have engineers. And yeah, it's an exciting journey, because I believe we have a solution that could assist reducing and preventing the trauma associated with the shark accident. And that will open the route to speak about shark conservation with more people. What was really cool was also this manatee that came the last day of installation to demonstrate that our barrier is absolutely shark specific. And on the very, very last day, it just came in, swam straight through the pipes, and it showed us that the rest of the animals are not affected. So that is how it looks like a few months later. It became a bit of biofouling, an artificial reef, but something like that can maintain the job creation. So it is our hope that in the future, KwaZulu-Natal Shark Board will become our best client. It is our hope that we can get rid of the net and the drumline and the shark cull policy, and work together with the shark and get them conserved for the next generations.
Thank you, Sara. Fantastic. I am sure. I think that it is so innovative, your SharkSafe Barrier. And I see that there's a lot of questions popping up. We are going to take them a little bit later, but there's a lot of enthusiasm and interest. Yeah. Yeah, that's the statistics of the sharks being killed are just so tragic. Very, very sad.
Yes.
So yeah, an amazing video footage. Thank you very much for it. It really brings it alive. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sara. And with that, I'm going to turn to Hannah.
Yes.
So please join me in warmly welcoming Hannah Snyman. Originally from Pretoria, far from the coast, Hannah's passion for the ocean was ignited in high school after earning her PADI, Professional Association of Diving Instructors certification. A life-changing first dive at Aliwal Shoal, where she encountered a great hammerhead shark, sparked a deep love for sharks and set her on a path to marine conservation. In 2001, Hannah joined a shark cage diving volunteer program in Gansbaai, later gaining valuable experience working with our previous speaker, Sara, in Umkomaas. Today, she's back in Gansbaai as the resident marine biologist at White Shark Projects, dedicating her career to shark conservation and public education. Driven by the lessons, Hannah continues to learn from the ocean and its apex predators. She is passionate about sharing her knowledge and inspiring others to protect marine life. Hannah, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen here. All right, everyone. So as Kirsten said, my name is Hannah. I'm the marine biologist for White Shark Projects, which is a shark cage diving company based in Gansbaai, South Africa. And I'm just going to, with my presentation, highlight the importance of shark cage diving for both scientists and the public as well. Just to give you a brief overview of shark cage diving in South Africa. In the 80s, it was still legal, not only legal to catch and kill white sharks, but it was quite popular as well. People were fishing them for their meat, for their jaws, for shark tooth necklaces, and for their fins as well. And even just for fun, it was quite a popular fishing sport back then to catch white sharks, and unfortunately sometimes that they would just discard the carcasses as well, so it would be quite wasteful. After some time though, some of the fishermen actually grew to care for the sharks and wanted to learn a little bit more about them, and so a couple of research organizations came to existence, one of them being White Shark Project. But of course, as everybody knows, research is not cheap. It does require a little bit of funding. So that is where the shark cage diving was started. And the shark cage diving continues to fund research to this day, partly through volunteer programs like the one that I was a part of. And but I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. Through some of the research that the shark cage diving funded, the industry played quite a crucial role in advocating for the protection of white sharks in South Africa. South Africa was actually the first country to protect white sharks globally in 1991, when the South African Minister of Environmental Affairs announced for the regulations for the protection of white sharks in the South African Exclusive Economic Zone. For those of you who don't know, the Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ, is basically the area around a country that is under that country's jurisdiction. So for us, for example, it would be 1.5 million square kilometers of ocean, extending about 200 nautical miles offshore. So, however, despite the protected status, the white shark populations did continue to decline, as Sara was saying, partly through the presence of the beach nets along our east coast. And they started to disappear from historical aggregation sites like Gansbaai, so to the point where we are mostly working with the bronze whaler sharks these days. Which we are very grateful for, because they have kept the industry alive during the last couple of years. But unfortunately, the bronze whaler sharks are not a protected species. There were still fishermen coming into the area right up to the shark cage diving boats and actually fishing the bronze whaler sharks in front of the tourists. And obviously that was hurting the industry quite a bit. So a couple of the companies actually came together, and they decided to pay the fishermen to not catch the bronze whaler sharks, which was working well for a while until the word got out, and more fishermen decided to come into the area to kind of get their cut of the deal. And unfortunately, that's not sustainable, was no longer sustainable. And some scientists work together to appeal to the government to implement a maximum catch size of the bronze whaler sharks, which at this point is about 1.3, 1.4 meters. This is still in place today, and we don't get those very, very small bronze whaler sharks in the area that we're working with the shark cage diving. So it has relieved the pressure off of us a little bit, but it still stands that the bronze whaler sharks are not protected. Hopefully that will change at some point. But that kind of brings me to my next point about shark conservation goes beyond just ecological purposes. When you're dealing with humans, you have to appeal to the monetary side of things and the financial side of things. It's not just enough to say, we should protect them because we're trying to look after our planet and we're trying to keep our future on this planet as long as possible. Yeah, so over the last 3 decades or so, the shark cage diving has gained a lot of popularity, and there are thousands of international tourists that are visiting South Africa specifically to experience our rich, diverse marine life, of which the sharks are a major component. So these visitors, they come to South Africa, they spend, a couple of weeks here. They spend their dollars, their pounds, their euros in South Africa, oftentimes in small South African towns like Gansbaai, for example. And that brings quite a lot of money into the local economy, which not only helps with, boosting jobs and small businesses like curio shops, bed and breakfasts, but shuttle services and restaurants. All of those things actually really benefit from this boost in ecotourism. So I think having a financial benefit to keeping sharks alive is one of the best incentives to protecting or to advocate for the protection of our sharks instead of exploiting them. I think it's important to note that sharks are worth a lot more alive than they are dead at this point. So the exploitation of sharks goes beyond just the selling of their meat and their fins and their teeth for shark tooth necklaces, which brings me to my next point, which in my opinion is arguably one of the most important roles that shark cage diving plays in shark conservation, and that is actually changing people's perceptions of sharks. I'm sure that these images are familiar to some of you. I didn't even include the name in the middle one. You don't need more to explain what's going on there or to see what I'm referring to. But historically, sharks have gotten a lot of bad publicity from movies, some of which are just ridiculous. I mean, Sharknado, really. But also news headlines and the way that they're portrayed in the media, especially the fear-mongering around, so-called shark attacks and things like that, that really just paint the sharks out to be the bad guy. And I will admit that Jaws has inspired quite a few people to have a fascination with sharks rather than a fear of them. But I fear that with those people, they are in the minority, and most people that have watched Jaws just never want to step foot in the ocean again. So I believe that by bringing people face to face with these apex predators, they're actually able to identify with the animals a little bit more and seeing what their behavior really is like, rather than just watching a movie and like Jaws or The Meg or Sharknado and believing that you can understand what their behavior is like from those types of movies. It's very important to me to appeal to people that they're not just the mindless killing machines that the media makes them out to be. In fact, after the release of Jaws in 1975, it was the people who were mindlessly hunting the sharks, just because they had this thought in their head that one less shark in the ocean is one less that's going to be able to bite you. And there's a quote by, I think it's Dr. Sylvia Earle, that says you should actually be afraid if you're in the ocean and you don't see any sharks instead of, seeing sharks. So that's definitely true in that case. So yeah, after people went out after seeing Jaws, they were killing sharks just for the sake of killing sharks, to the point where there was a 50% decline in shark populations on the Eastern American seaboard just within a couple of years. So I think that really shows the impact that media has on people, and that it should really be used in a better way. But it does say a lot that in the later years, both the author of the book Jaws, Peter Benchley, and the director of Jaws, Steven Spielberg, both became advocates for shark conservation and marine life. They both said that they quite regretted the impact that it had on people's perceptions of sharks. So I think the more we can get people in influential positions to advocate for shark protection, the more people will actually listen. To show the role that shark cage diving has on people's perceptions, I've included this study that was conducted in 2022 that Dr. Sara Andreotti actually co-authored. And it was basically showing, it surveyed people's opinions of the sharks before and after they had been shark cage diving. So I'm just going to run through one of the examples here. People were given a statement before they were cage diving and after, and then they could either agree, strongly disagree, not sure, agree, or strongly agree. And in the first one, it is that sharks, great white sharks, are highly aggressive by nature. Before the shark cage diving, there were only 8.7% of people that disagreed with that statement, and after, or strongly disagreed. And after the shark cage diving, 30.4% of people strongly disagreed with that. Again, another one is if a human is attacked or killed by a great white shark, the shark should be killed. And I think it's a little taken from Jaws there. So before the shark cage diving, 44.1% of people strongly disagreed with that statement. And then afterwards, 60.4% of people strongly disagreed. And I think those are quite positive results. I think it really shows that shark cage diving and just being able to see these animals in their natural habitat face to face really makes a big difference. Just speaking from personal experience, seeing people on the boat, seeing how some of them say they even watched Jaws the night before, or there's another movie, I think it's 47 Below or something, where some people sink in a shark cage and then they can't get out or something. And then there's a shark that's hunting them or something like that. I don't really watch these kinds of movies. But some people will watch those movies before they come and visit us, and they are absolutely terrified to the point where before they thought, yeah, sure, they'll get in the cage, and then they decide, maybe not. And then once they're there and they can actually see the sharks from the boat and see their behavior, and then they're really not trying to rip the cage apart and, tear you limb from limb, that I can hear them saying, and they've said to me before, these are beautiful animals, and I can't believe all of the negativity that they're facing, and the threats that they're facing as well, and how people can be so ruthless. So I really think that is a very, very positive result from the general public coming from shark cage diving. Shark cage diving, obviously going out on the boat, it's a great platform for science. It allows for people to take observational data. It allows people to even tag sharks from the boat, having a look at behavioral data, population estimates as well, which we can do through the dorsal fin identification. We mostly do that with the bronze whalers at the moment. And when we see a white shark, we obviously try our best to get a photo of the dorsal fin as well to contribute to our databases. But in addition to that, with the bigger sharks, we also have, as part of our volunteer program, working with smaller shark species like the shy sharks and the cat sharks as well. And it kind of exposes young biologists to field work. Maybe they're students and they're aspiring to be marine biologists. It shows them what is all the components of field work, the data collection, the data analysis. They learn to work with different softwares. And even if you're not a marine biology student, even if you just have a passion for marine life and want to learn more, the volunteer programs are open to everyone. I do think that the smaller shark species play quite an important role in changing people's perceptions as well, because they don't look like the typical big sharks that you see on the scary movie posters, with their teeth hanging out their mouth and their jaws wide open. They are really quite cute, and I think it's quite endearing, the little shy sharks. The reason why they're called shy sharks is because whenever they feel threatened, they'll bring their tail up over their eyes. And I always think it's really cute. It's like, if I can't see you, you can't see me type of thing. It's not, though. It's because they're trying to protect the internal organs, but it really just changes people's perceptions. And as of sharks as a group, they don't see them as, you know, the big scary sharks. You know, these little guys, they're completely harmless and just as ecologically important as well. So from the data that we take from the shy sharks and the cat sharks, we measure them, we tag them and release them again. And all of that information gets contributed to ORI-TAG and ELMO as well. We also do the shark egg case hunts as well. And that also contributes to our databases, which people can then use to perform scientific studies on and advocate for shark conservation in that way. Because of the complete misinterpretation of sharks worldwide, education is a very critical part of shark cage diving, particularly for us. We don't just want the people to arrive with us, have some breakfast, and then go out, look at sharks, and then go home afterwards. We're trying to make it as much of an educational experience as possible. We want people to learn about the sharks, and we want them to share that information with their friends and family online or back home. We want them to share the photos and everything, that all the information they've learned. We want them to share that online as well to reach a wider audience. So we have these SASSY sustainable seafood guides as well in our office that we hand out to all of our clients. And it's not just about shark conservation, that's just ocean conservation in general, but overfishing is quite a big threat that the sharks are facing. So by appealing to people to make sustainable seafood choices can really make a difference. And it's an easy difference to make, really. There is, for everyone online here as well, there is also an app that you can download, or you can visit their website as well. And it's just something easy to take a look at when you're at a restaurant and you're wondering about this type of seafood. At least you know you're doing right by the ocean at the same time. So just to kind of close off a little bit here, I'd like to share this quote with you, which is one of my favorite quotes, and it always stays in my head. In the end, we will conserve only what we love love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. And I really think that shark cage diving plays an important role in that, because at the end of the day, we're hoping to teach people about the sharks so that they can understand them better, and by understanding them, they can love them, and of course, at the end of the day, to conserve them for future. Because I also want, you know, my grandkids to be able to see a white shark one day. Yeah, I hope that you guys will carry this quote with you as well in all your future endeavors. So thank you so much. I love putting this photo on my last slide, because it really is just such an endearing photo of a white shark, and you don't always see them in such a smiley way. So yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you to our previous speakers too. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, I love that photograph. It had me smiling. I'm sure it had most of us smiling. Super. And that was a very powerful quote, obviously. And I think your presentation has been very powerful. I absolutely appreciate your passion and passion for sharks and how you are sharing it with other people. And you've taken us on an incredible journey. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, super. I'm going to turn now to Justin Blake. And Justin, I can't see him at the moment, but I know he's there. So Justin Blake is a shark scientist, and he has created Rockhopper Tours. Rockhopper connects people to the ocean through scientist-led experiences that inspire action and hope. From online team building events to immersive marine adventures, every experience funds their mission to restore ocean health and conserve sharks. Justin will share with us what we can do to further protect sharks. Justin, there you are. Welcome.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kirsten, and thank you, everybody. I don't know where you got that intro from, but I like it. It's good. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me. I think this has just been fantastic listening to everybody else for the last almost an hour now. And yeah, Kirsten and Johan, the team at Unlocking Nature, asked me to share, just kind of bring it back home to everybody here today, and just to offer 3 suggestions of things that we could do individually that might be able to assist us in our quest to rebalance the ocean and help sharks out. Because as you've heard today, that sharks are having a little bit of trouble, and of course sharks in the ocean maintain ocean health. So if we have sharks in the ocean, we have healthy oceans that give us all those good things like oxygen and seafood, and suck carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So just very briefly, bringing it back home to each and every one of us here today, 3 simple things that we can do at home to give sharks a helping hand. And the first thing is check what you eat. More and more these days, shark is being substituted for the seafood that you buy at a restaurant, at a fishmonger's. We're running out of snapper, grouper, whatever else it might be, and so we substitute. So if you are a regular seafood eater, and you're eating things sort of at the top of the food chain, like snapper, grouper, things like that, then just ask. WWF SASSY, which I shared a link, and Meredith just shared a link now as well. Meredith just shared a link. They will help you, guide you towards the best choices that you could make at a restaurant. And simply checking. A study that WWF SASSY did a few years ago found that just simply by asking at a restaurant, like, what do you have that's sustainable, or what was this, or where was it caught, or how was it caught, already started changing the way that seafood outlet sourced their seafood. So simply by you asking a question at your next seafood meal has this knock-on effect, this kind of domino effect all the way down. So simply check what you eat, and revert to the SASSY guide if you are in South Africa. It'll give you a bit of an idea. If you're not in South Africa, you can kind of extrapolate out or kind of relate it to your local area, your seafood, where your seafood comes from. And then some countries around the world do have their own sustainable seafood guides. All right, second is share what you know, right? Every single one of the speakers before me have touched on this kind of misconceptions, public perceptions, this unknown, right? This fear mongering. And just simply today, what we've done in the last hour has been remarkable. I think every single person here, including myself and each of the presenters before me, have learned something new. Simply telling somebody else what you just learned is incredibly powerful and has this kind of knock-on effect, this kind of spillover effect that like a wave, right? So your communities, your families, whoever it is that you might encounter with and have these kinds of conversations with, just simply share what you heard here today. And Unlocking Nature will be posting this, Kirsten, if I'm right, online. So if somebody wants to find out more, or you can't remember, well, this is live, forever will be available online. So somebody else can watch this. So share the link to this when it gets forwarded to you once it is up. Okay, so share what you know. It's incredibly powerful to be able to share just a few little insights like this. And then last but not least, okay, so this is a little bit personal, but follow and support people who are already doing this work, right? Like Sarah, Hannah, Mel. And maybe this is a call to Sarah, Hannah, and Mel to share your social accounts, a link in the group chat now, your LinkedIn profile, whatever it is, wherever you are most active, because I strongly feel that there are lots of people working in this world to protect these animals, right? And can't spy with the cage diving, to create these barriers, to drop these brevs, do these observations, check bather safety in all these different locations. And it's hard, right? It's difficult work. So simply, if you are at home, you're a concerned citizen, you're an ocean enthusiast, simply follow a few people, a few social media accounts, LinkedIn, whatever it is, Unlocking Nature, right? And simply by doing that, you're bolstering those people. You're allowing them to do a slightly better job and giving them a little thumbs up, right? Like, it's hard out there. It's hard watching the populations get smaller, right? Seeing a shift of no great white sharks anymore, these animals that we love. And so just having a little bit of support can certainly go a long way. Just on that, maybe just a little personal plug is I send a newsletter out every 2 weeks. So I can add my 2 cents in there, just a little shameless plug here. So if you do want to find out more good ocean stories, you can join my newsletter, and all of the SharkSafe Barriers, the white shark cage diving, the pledge shark spotters, and everybody else's articles and news, I filter through and send out every 2 weeks in a kind of newsy, snippety briefing. That's the most recent one that just went out, and here's how you can join if you would like an email newsletter with this kind of news. All right, those are 3 simple things that we can each take home with us to help sharks out and essentially create and restore a healthier, balanced ocean. All right, back to you, Kirsten.
Thanks, Justin. Great energy. I think it's got us all up and about again. And yeah, it's been a wonderful evening. So I'm now going to head off into some questions. I've noted some questions down, and yeah, I'm going to go back to, was it Sarah that was speaking about wetsuits? Yes, it was. The color of wetsuits. So there was a question from Glenn Parsons that wetsuits sometimes mimic sea snake color patterns. And does that actually prevent shark encounters?
It's difficult. It's not such an easy question because every species is different. What happened if you wear a wetsuit and you're at the surface is that you look like a black silhouette anyway, because you will have the sun shining behind your back. So whichever pattern you have, you're just going to look like a black something at the surface. Not all shark knows sea snake. So I wouldn't recommend that as the one thing to go. Plus, the white stripes could actually have the opposite effect in bad visibility by making the person more attractive and interesting. What I can say is that we normally just wear all black, wetsuit, black gloves, black everything. We don't want to have anything shiny. We even cover our GoPro so that we don't have shiny. Well, now the GoPros are black, but when they were like silver in color, sharks love them. So, but then you lose your GoPro. So no, I would rather recommend to be not interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thanks, Sarah. Melissa, right in the very beginning, you were talking, I'm going to come back to the taming of seals story. And you mentioned quite strongly that you wouldn't want to chase the sharks. Can you say something further about that? I was just interested in going a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just think that the topic of this whole chat tonight is learning how to coexist together and not influencing or changing the shark's behavior. We are entering their world. It's like saying if you go on safari, lock the lions up in that one corner so that the humans on safari aren't going to be in danger. I just think that the ocean is where the sharks belong and they should be able to roam freely. Like, for example, the bathing areas that are super close to shore in Plettenberg Bay are surrounded by beautiful reefs that the sharks feed off. So, yeah, it just wouldn't really make sense to try move the sharks away from an area that they need and they use.
Agreed. Thanks, Melissa. There was a question from Louise Gordon. What is the current situation of orcas killing great whites and eating just their livers? Is this something historic, or did that we did not know about, or is it something new? And should we be acting? Or should we take action?
I'm definitely not an orca specialist. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything, but it's not a new thing. There have been records from all over the world of orcas eating sharks, and one way that we can tell this is not only by the sharks washing up with livers removed, but if the orcas have really flat teeth, that's evidence of them eating sharks and stingrays. And as far as South Africa goes, we try very hard to track where the orcas are and what they're eating, but it is extremely difficult. I know just a couple of days ago, some sharks washed up Cape Town side with their livers removed. It wasn't white sharks, but yeah, it's definitely not white shark specific. They'll eat any sharks, especially if they have big juicy livers. And even in Plet 2 days ago, we had a pod of 7 to 9 orcas, but no evidence of them eating sharks at all. Yeah, we're trying our best to track them, but yeah, it is quite difficult.
Sarah, another couple of questions for you, I think, on your SharkSafe barrier. The one is by Natasha Keller-Herr. Why have you not approached Plettenberg with the barrier, or have you?
We did approach Flat with the barrier. Actually, we approached them back in 2020 already, and then 2021, and we had this conversation before the first accident happened. So the few locals that had private properties in Robert were asking us to look into the possibility of creating a safe area there. Then we spoke with Cape Nature, and of course it's a marine reserve, so we were thinking of shifting the attention to Bacon Island, the little beach there. And I pretty much what Melissa said is correct. We don't want to exclude the sharks from areas they're utilizing. We want to fence in people in a little corner so that we can still reduce the chances of shark accident. The issue with Plet was mainly finance, no, not really. It was a permitting issue because we had a few locals that were prepared to cover the cost. We had a plan for the installation. We had the support of the B2 municipality and Cape Nature, as long as we were in Bacon Island and not in Robert. What we stumbled upon was the request to have a full-on environmental impact assessment done by an independent company. I tried to get a research permit to just temporarily install it because like we did in Hansby, we can have a temporary installation for a year. And then if it doesn't work, we can remove it. But I was not allowed to do that. They asked me for a full environmental impact assessment, and that cost close to R1 million. So we just didn't have the money for that, with the risk that maybe, I don't know, didn't go, I don't know. It was just too much effort, too much money to sell these and organize a permit, the money for the permit and the money for the installation. So we just, one day, maybe, you know, if that is required, we can keep Beacon Island open all the time, or just a little corner at least. But we'll see. We're very open to do something in our backyard, of course.
So, Sarah, does the cost of SharkSafe barriers, Glenn Parsons was asking this, is the cost very high? And I mean, if I could say add on that in comparison to the gill nets.
Yes, well, the cost of the gill nets is marine life getting killed, whether we don't get anything killed. The estimate for Plettenberg Bay was about 240 rand per meter square of protection. We would have extended on 250 meter of barrier on the little corner. And the estimate for that, you must imagine commercial divers and equipment, and it was 15 million rand, a 15 million rand project to make it permanent. So it's not the cheapest, but it's also the most, the one that requires the least maintenance. And it solves a lot of issues.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Do you use, there was another question from Glenn Parsons again, which was, do you use bait in the center of the barrier?
Oh, yes. Yes. We had to try and convince the sharks to cross it. Otherwise, these animals just swim around. They don't care about our research, about our diving. If you don't give them a reason to approach, they will just keep on swimming. So for the Hansby experiment, we stole Mike Ratten's mother washing machine basket, to be specific, which is a metal basket that big. We fill it up with pieces of tuna and some fish oil, something that the shark would find yummy. We secure it in the middle of this square that we built up, was 15 meters by 15 meters. Then we deploy 3 Bravs, the baited remote underwater camera. And then we would jump from the boat first. So because we did this experiment in 2012, 13, 14. So the GoPro battery would last for 2 hours and 15 minutes. We couldn't start it before the shark arrived. So we would put these 3 Bravs in the center of the square, attract the shark. When the sharks arrive, we stop the jump from the boat. We just had this drum in the middle of the square. I would jump in and put the 2 Bravs on the outside of the square, pointing up, one in the middle pointing at the bait, switch them on, and then go back on the boat and wait for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that was the experiment. And we did that for 2 winters in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
Hannah, a question for you about shark cage diving practices. Have you got any idea of the sort of proportion of shark diving operations that are operating ethically? Or do you have anything to say about that?
The shark cage diving industry is very heavily regulated, and so we have a very specific amount of chum that we're allowed to take with on the boats. I know that chumming has quite a bad reputation online, but I'm just going to explain maybe a little bit about it now, just to get people to understand exactly what happens. So it's not a whole bunch of blood and guts that we throw into the water and, you know, make it like this super gross thing. We basically have a big black drum of mashed up fish at the back of the boat. We scoop seawater into that mixture, and we just scoop that oil back into the water. So we use salmon fish. It's freshwater salmon that comes from a farm closer to Cape Town. I think it's close to Franschhoek. And what happens is that we get the offcuts. So we get the bones, the skin, the fins, all of the least nutritious parts of the fish. All the big fancy fillets go to the restaurants. So any small pieces of fish that do end up in the water have basically no nutritional value to them. We're not training the sharks. We're not wanting to feed the sharks. We're not there to change the role that they play in the ecosystem at all. A lot of people worry that we are training the sharks to associate the boats with food. That's not the case. If the sharks were trained in any way, that would mean that we have sharks every single day following the boat on the way out, and we'd be getting them within minutes of us being there, within seconds of us being there, and that's not the case. We do have days where we wait quite a while before the sharks show up, and sometimes there are days where we don't get sharks at the cage, and it's the whole interaction is entirely up to them. We're not, there's no way that we are forcing them to stay around the boat. We're not, like I say, we're not feeding them. They still need to go out on the ecosystem to play their role there. They still need to go and hunt on the reefs. So it's just that odor trail that we create with the fish oil that gets the attention of the sharks. It just piques their curiosity. They come a little bit closer to the boat. And then we have a bait line, which is basically the bigger pieces of skin and the spines of the fish that we tie onto the bait line. It's just a piece of rope with all of that tied on the end. And we are constantly pulling that away from the sharks. We're not trying to let them get those big pieces of fish at all. So it's just because sometimes our visibility isn't the best. So the sharks do need to come a little bit closer to the cage in order for the clients to see them from inside the water. And sometimes the sharks don't want to do that, honestly. Sometimes they don't even worry about the bait. They'll just swim around in the perimeter around the boat and they won't come closer. And you do get people on the boat that are obviously disappointed about that, but it's like going on a game drive. You're not in an aquarium. There's no guarantee to see sharks. We never give anyone the impression that you're guaranteed to see a shark. And, you know, it's like I say, it's like going on a game drive. You never know what you're going to see. So, yeah, I would say most of the well, actually all the companies are working ethically in that sense, because we all use the same kind of bait and the same type of yeah, attraction method, I would say.
Okay, that's impressive. Thanks, Hannah. I just wanted to ask Justin. Justin, would you come in? You were just typing in the chat about orcas versus sharks. Can you, because it was Louise Gordon that asked the question, and maybe you can just bring in what you've written.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in any sort of ecological system, you see things called predator-prey curves, and essentially how that works is if there's lots of impala in a game reserve, the lions are having a great time, right? There's lots of food, so your lion numbers increase and increase and increase. Eventually, there's so many lions, they're kind of eating all the impala. You get to a point where there's not enough impala for the lions, so the lion numbers then start decreasing. As they decrease back down again, there's less predation, so your impala numbers start increasing again. And I feel, I mean, this is really new, these orca, well, new for us, these orca eating great white sharks, but I feel like it's a similar kind of situation where there is some food around, these animals come in, there's a predator-prey sort of interaction that takes place, and over, say, 15 or 20 years, it feels catastrophic. It's the end of the world, right? But over 150 or 200 or 400 years, maybe it's not as catastrophic as it feels right now in this heat of the moment. Humans tend to have this real focus on, immediately, right now. And so perhaps this is part of a natural predator-prey curve that we see insects, birds, ecosystems, biospheres all through the planet. So perhaps it's not cause for, I mean, it's cause for concern, of course, but perhaps it's not something completely unnatural, something that we should be, overly worried about, I guess. So, if that makes sense, does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Justin. So,
if only it was just the
yes.
orcas. If only it was just the orcas taking these animals out. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. So there's
many
other
other
pressures. Yeah, no food, overfishing, shark nets, all of that as well combined together.
Yeah, that's why we worry.
So I just wanted to give a little comment from Johan Kruger, who's my colleague with Share Screen Africa. And maybe this is something that you all could answer. He says, our speakers this evening are very entrepreneurial and self-sufficient in supporting their work, which is amazing. But does that mean that there is a lack of official support for shark research and conservation? Who would like to respond to that?
I don't want to answer that.
You don't want to.
No, the government of South Africa have been very supportive in terms of providing the research permit that we require to work with vulnerable species. And they request a yearly report on the progress so that they have up-to-date information. That's the kind of support we've received government-wise.
Okay.
So
Hannah, do you want to add anything?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, sorry, you carry on.
Okay, from my personal perspective, my research, I'm in a very lucky position in Plet with a lot of support, and we have a lot of collaborations going on. So luckily my research is pretty much covered. We've also received a research grant from Mission Blue earlier this year. So we are very much supported on that side of things. But in terms of the Shark Spotters program itself, it is mostly supported by government. So we do get funding from the municipality locally.
While we're waiting, Hannah, do you want to come in at all on your experience?
Yeah, so our research is mostly funded by the shark cage diving itself, but I guess just to kind of follow up on what Sara was saying, in terms of legislations and regulations, it does help to have those things on paper, but like even with the white sharks having been protected since 1991, one would hope to see the opposite of a decline, and we've continued to see a decline in the white sharks despite them being protected within our waters. So whether things are happening on paper and whether they're happening in practice are two different things. So I think it can get a little bit difficult at that point. So, but luckily, at least it's happening on paper.
Thank you. Yeah, Justin, are you putting your hands up?
I think just a thought on this, just from a bigger perspective, is for me, it feels like scientists have been so scientists have a desire for knowledge, right? To learn more, to understand more. And society has almost made scientists conservationists. But not all scientists are conservationists. And I feel like conservationists now, in current days, may not necessarily be scientists, right? So essentially there's this whole new wave of people who are figuring out new ways, not just being scientists, but entrepreneurs, cage diving operators, solutions focused people who are taking up the goal of conservation in whatever form that is, whereas historically those conservationists would have been the scientists working at institutions, kind of working through grants and funding and that sort of thing, where you are a little bit tied. If someone's funding you to do some research, you can't then go and sell that research or really create products out of that. But I think there's this change now in scientists are realizing that, okay, if we actually want to be conservationists and actually be effective, we can create new pathways, and entrepreneurship and coming up with collaborations and new ideas is a way that's happening. So I think a lot of scientists around the world, if you're studying marine biology, is to approach it from an entrepreneurial or ideas kind of perspective, not I'm going to be a scientist and apply for funding and get that amazing grant to do this amazing work, because inevitably those grants are very rare and very difficult to get to. So to be more impactful and effective, well, people like here today have had to adopt a slightly different approach.
Love it. Thank you. I was just wondering, Glenn, would you like to come on and just say a couple of words? I saw that you have a question in the chat. Maybe you want to ask that question.
By the way, I'm Glenn Parsons. I've researched sharks for 40 plus years, by the way, and done a bunch of stuff on all aspects, many kinds of sharks and fishes, and I actually worked on shark encounters, attacks, if you will, for several years, and it was mainly a statistical analysis using path analysis. And if you look at shark attacks encounters in the state of Florida, which is where we have probably one of the best databases, there's a clear cycle. And when Justin mentioned the predator-prey cycling kind of thing, that's precisely what occurred to me when I originally saw this. So for many years, it was said that the attacks were going up every year because of the increase in bathers in the state of Florida. But actually it hasn't been going up. The number of people in the water has gone up year after year, except for the COVID year. It went down in COVID, or basically stayed the same. But the shark attacks have a pretty clear cycle. I haven't actually looked at those data for the past probably 3 or 4 years, but I would be very surprised if it fell out of a cycle that seemed to be about man, I haven't looked at this work in a while now. I'm retired now from the university, but it was something like about a 8 or 10 year cycle in attacks. They rise up to about 35 per year and then go down to maybe 10 or 12 in a very consistent, highly significant cycle in encounters. And I actually did an analysis, and it's published Now here I am going to tout myself again. I'm not real big on blowing my own bugle, but the paper is actually in a book that I wrote and is available through, and I don't make any money on this, guy, so it doesn't matter to me if you buy the book or not, frankly. But it has an interesting chapter in it. It's the last chapter in the book, and it covers the cycle that I observed and some suggestions as to why this cycling might be occurring. Whether or not that applies anywhere else in the US or the world, I have no idea. But that when Justin mentioned that jogged my memory. It's like, yeah, that's precisely what I had seen over a number of years. The book is called Introductory Fish Biology, an Ecophysiological Approach, available through Cambridge Press in England. So for what that's worth. So there you go. Was that your question, Kristen?
That's perfect. Thank you, Glenn.
Did I run my mouth? That's a Southern thing. I ran my mouth too long, perhaps. I'm in Mississippi,
It's great to
by
have
the way.
It's great to have all you Sharky people in one room. Super.
Yeah.
Thank you, our lovely speakers. You've been absolutely super. It's wonderful to hear about all the work that you're doing, and it really, it makes me feel, very as if I really want to take action as well, obviously, and share the stories with everybody around me. So thank you so much. And amazing innovations that you're all coming up with. I see quite a few people saying lovely sessions, and thanks for the excellent work you are doing to ensure awareness, education, innovation, and all the right things to enable survival of the species. So with that, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening, rest of your evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.